Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Highways and General Purposes meeting of Wednesday, the 26th of June, 2024. There are some items we need to get through first, and then we'll come to public participation. First item on the agenda are apologies. We've had apologies from Councillor Clay, and no others. No. Okay, thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Notwithstanding, members can declare an interest later on. Does anyone have any declarations of interest at the moment? No? Thank you. Item 3 are minutes of the previous meetings. To receive and confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the Highways and General Purposes meeting held on the 20th of March and the 15th of May. Does anyone have any comments of either of those? Is everyone happy for me to sign? Show hands. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 4 on the agenda is Highways and General Purposes Committee Projects Report. Thank you, Joe, for updating the report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Some of the stuff is on the agenda already. No comments? No? Okay. We'll move on. Okay, so item 5 on the agenda is public participation. The meeting will recess for not more than 15 minutes to allow members of the public to address the meeting. We'll ask that before you speak, if you could raise your hand and give your name for the clerk for the minutes. I open the floor.
Rebecca Whitley. Joe, together. Thank you. I wanted to come to the meeting to bring to your attention something that you may or not be aware of, and why this issue has come to light. It's regarding the cemetery and the policy that's in place by the Denby Parish Council for the cemetery. On the 13th of June, my mum and I went to the cemetery with a very small posy of flowers, which we do every single year and have done. My nan's been gone 27 years, so we've done that every single year, birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, and such like. And we were met by the lovely Janine here and a lady called Pat Smith and one of your groundsmen. And I don't think Janine will mind me saying that there was quite a bit of distress when I entered the car park. Janine was quite upset because she'd spoken to the groundsman to thank him for looking after the grounds, when he informed her that in actual fact what he was doing was he was going to be removing everything from the graves. So I sort of just stepped in and I thought, could I just ask that you just clarify that with the office, because I'm not 100% sure that is the case. So he said, no, that's fine. So he put his phone on loudspeaker so I could hear, and I know he spoke to Sarah, the clerk, and was told, just get it done, it's the policy. Which obviously then my mum was in floods of tears because all she wanted to do was put some flowers on her mum's grave. Janine has recently lost her husband and wanted to do the same, and was told that the photograph would be removed and the 3 potted plants that she had where the stone will be. Obviously I was quite distressed at seeing my mum and two other grown ladies sobbing in the car park. And as I said to the gentleman who was removing the items in a wheelbarrow, you know, I know it's your job, but I think it's my duty to just let everybody in the village be aware that this is what was happening. My main concern there was that there had been notices put up, but as we all know, in today's age, we all deal with social media. Most people do. Well, you can, if you've been following the post on social media, you will see that. So we looked for the post, and it was down the other end in the gate that not many people use. So we weren't aware of that situation. I posted on the Demi Community Facebook just to highlight to the affected families that they might want to just nip up and take their own things off. And I received some quite emotional response, of which I'd like to read you a couple just so that you're all aware, just in case you've not seen the post. So from Emma Sykes, I couldn't believe it yesterday when I had a distressed phone call from my parents who were at the cemetery. My brother and granny are buried there and their graves are immaculate. It's my dad's haven and he always says, it's all I can do for my boy. They have bought that piece of land, so surely it's our property, not theirs to interfere with. No communication, consideration, thought, respect, or even a bit of emotional intelligence has been used. Celine Marie McClafferty, absolutely disgusting, and how can they do this? It's heartbreaking. Karen Darroch, absolutely disgraceful, Denby Parish Council, you should be ashamed of yourselves. David Underwood, this is dreadful, heavy-handed nonsense from those supposed to be representing our views. I'm up for Eric Pert, sorry. Let's give buggers something to really worry about. I'm assuming they're new in the council, although I wouldn't want to be held to ransom on that. Shelley Keegan-Jones, this village is going to the dogs. Where are the next parish council elections? I think it's time for a change. I have 5 generations of my family buried in the cemetery, and the few small pedal items on their graves are my property, and as such, I would like them returned. And then finally, I just want to read you the post that Janine put on. When I was leaving the cemetery today after tending my beloved's resting place, I saw the groundsman waiting patiently in his van, so I actually went over to thank him for the wonderful job he had done. The cemetery looked beautiful. It was then that he told me that he had been instructed by the parish council that he strips the graves of everything, and he was very sorry. To say I'm devastated is an understatement. The cemetery is a country civilian cemetery, not a military one, where all the graves are in a neat rows devoid of flowers, plants and photos. By and large, the majority of the graves with plants are well maintained by the loving mourners. Not only do I regularly maintain and keep my darling husband's grave watered, neat and tidy, but I water the neighbours' plants too. How dare the parish council decide that they have the right to remove pots of flowers from our graves just because they don't think it's neat and tidy? The cemetery is for the mourners, not for the village, to look neat and tidy. Concentrate your efforts on the litter in the rest of the village. Roger's neighbour, so the grave in front of Roger's, belongs to a cherished mother of young children who visit, they tend their mother's grave and leave the occasional card or tiny teddy bear. How devastating for these young mourners to turn up to their mother's stripped grave.
Can I just, the 15 minutes are for everyone to speak.
Yeah, I've asked everybody else if they want to speak and they're happy for me to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
I then decided that, having had experience with the parish council myself, that I probably needed to get this a little bit further. So you probably are aware that there was a nice article in the Portsmouth Evening News, and there was also an article in the Leon Valley Times. I have a petition with over 160 signatures on, and I this week have sent an email to the parish clerk, for which I've not received or thank you for your email, we'll look into it for you, nothing, so I would have expected that. And I just wanted to read it to you for those who haven't seen it. Upon visiting my nan's plot on Saturday the 22nd of June, I was encouraged to see that the clearing of flowers and personal items has been paused. What I'm not happy about is the dreadful state of the areas around the cremation stones in the middle field. Attached photographs, I'm sure you've all seen those. If you haven't, I'm happy to email them to you. Whilst I'm pleased to see that there has not been a mass clearing of items, it seems that the general upkeep and maintenance is falling short. I therefore have an idea to recruit a team of villagers who can spare, say, an hour or two once a month to help tidy the cremation and headstones. By this I mean we would remove the dead or old flowers, make sure each item is placed correctly on the plot, enabling the grounds team to strew and mow, sweeping the tree debris from these areas and brushing off the cut grass from the stones. Under no circumstances would we use any strimmer, mower or anything else which could affect the health and safety policy that's in place. I asked if she would put it to the council so that I could organise this team if you were in agreement. I would also like to ask on behalf of the villagers if the item on the agenda to discuss this, which is item 12, could be brought forward so we don't have to sit through the entire meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to speak?
Rosemary Jeffrey. I completely disagree with what this person just said. The burial ground was looking very messy with people's plants, and we've gone up, my brother-in-law has recently passed away, and a glass vase that someone, not us, put in front of his grave was removed, and we were quite accepting of that because we realised there are health and safety issues around all of these objects that go into a cemetery. And it's a cemetery, and you do get allowed to put your own vase and things on your headstone, but all these extra, you haven't got headstone, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's not just a headstone.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, we're not having conversations between people. It comes through the chair, please.
Is when you have your headstone put onto a grave, you are allowed to vase. So there is room for your flower tributes to be put there. So I'm afraid I agree with Parish Council. I think that the groundsman was only just doing his job. My sister went up and spoken to him and was quite accepting.
Thank you.
That's all I need to say.
Just a quick word.
If you state your name for the clerk, then please.
My name is Jean Gringold.
Thank you.
Whereas I agree that some people have a messy grave.
Sorry. The lady can stand if she wishes to.
Whereas I
was just supporting that.
Whereas I agree some people will have a messy grave, that is not normal for everyone. And I feel the groundsman should be allowed to use their discretion, and if they see glass or something unsafe, or dead flowers, or a vase knocked over, they should be able to bin it. They should have some discretion. But when you have the majority of the mourners who are going there regularly, mourning over their loved ones, and being told that their pot, instead of a headstone, because I haven't got a headstone for my husband yet, is going to be stripped. And the photo which I got stuck in the pot, so it's not loose or anything, that's got to go as well. And I just think it's a draconian attitude that the council's taking, and they should allow the groundsmen to have some sort of leeway, and they are a nice bunch of groundsmen.
Yeah.
And they are compassionate, and they were sorry for what we were going through. But their hands were tied by a very blunt nutcracker. I'm
Sorry,
afraid.
we're not going to have personal attacks in
No.
here.
Well, I overheard the conversation on the phone. As the lady reiterated. So I was there, so if you want to deny it, I heard it as well. So I feel that there should be some sort of leeway. They should be allowed to show their judgment, because they're sensible people and they shouldn't be treated like stupid people. You do this and you do that.
Okay, I'll take your point. Have you finished? Lady in the corner.
Irene Underwood. This is not something that's just happened. This has been going on in this village since Greta Bendel was on the council and Mike Reid. Because I spoke to Mike Reid about my own personal graves up there and the trees that we planted that have now disappeared with flax. So it's not a new thing. You know, Greta Vendel took great delight in telling us all if we had flowers round our tree, they had to go. And it was up to us, and we all kept our trees lovely. You know, so it's not a new thing, but it's been going on, but it's just maybe getting out of hand now. Anyway.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else wish to comment?
Steve. I'd just like to say I am a original member of Demi that went to school, lived here all my life, apart from a few years when I went to Cranford, but I'm now back here. I have 10 members of my family in the grave, and as my daughter said, I've always gone up with fresh flowers in a little pot as well as what's already on the grave. And in between times, because I wasn't actually local then, I put artificial flowers, which I made sure were kept nice. I swept the grave, kept it clean. And in the 27 years I've done that for my mum, I've never once been challenged about what I've done, and I just find it so difficult now that you're now stamping down on it when it's not being implemented in all these years. I don't understand why you've suddenly started to do this and upset so many people.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just want to know whether a period of time has now elapsed that the parish council can now pause and reflect on their heavy-handedness in this matter. So it's just a comment really to sort of to understand whether time has passed, there's a piece of pausing and reflection and sort of understanding the feeling that the community which you serve has raised up and thought about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to make any comment or anything else on the agenda tonight? No? Okay. I will close the public session. I will, as asked, if with members' agreement, that we move item 12 forward. Is everyone in agreement that we move it forward? Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay. I open the floor to councillors to speak.
No, the other items first.
I was specifically 12, it's actually marked up as 14.3, but it's in burial ground 12.
No.
So I intended just to take that one. Councillor Andrew.
Just a couple of points from the public session. One of the comments read out was that somebody was saying, we have bought this grave and it's our property and it's ours to do what we want with. Nobody owns the graves there. Parish council owns the whole graveyard. The burial plots are allowed people to be buried there in perpetuity. But they do not own the plot, or neither do their relatives. When the recent incident happened, I queried why there was a piece of glass on the grave and why it hadn't been cleared, as the burial ground regulations going back. Well, we've gone back on our archives at least to pre-2006, and it says the same things. These items are not allowed. Why people were being told they weren't allowed flowers, I don't know. But certain items are not allowed, and it is in the it's been in the burial ground regulations, and everybody who inters somebody in the graveyard, or burial ground, should I say, whether a burial or a cremation plot, has to agree to and sign a copy of the regulations. So everybody should be aware of the regulations. It would appear that whilst we had contractors cutting the burial ground, they did not carry out this activity, and as a consequence there's quite a few items that should have been removed over the previous couple of years probably and haven't been, which is how come it's started to be done again, because it was allowed to lapse. But the regulations state what is allowed and what isn't, and have been signed by everybody who there is somebody in the burial ground.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Councillor Langford-Smith.
As Mrs Underwood said, these regulations have been in place for over 30 years. I think you quoted Mike Reid and Rita Bendel being on council. The regulations are standard regulations. We're not any different than anyone else. In fact, our regulations allow more than a lot of other burial grounds allow. So, for example, Porchester say no person shall place on or dig or drive into the turf or cultivated ground any vase, container, receptacle, metal, plastic or wooden stake or plaque, or drive any nail into any tree or place artificial flowers or ornaments within the ground. Unless authorised by an officer or servant of the Joint Committee, plant any bulbs, seeds, shrubs, trees or any kind of plants whatsoever in the soil of the grounds. That's one. And then they have a clearance policy. As well as the regular clearance, we do remove certain items immediately. These include, but are not limited to, name plaques or memorials taking ownership of a shared space, a large number of items being used to create individual plots, glass objects of any nature, alcohol, sharp objects, balloons, battery or electrically operated items, anything considered harmful to the environment, animals or visitors, any items decorating or hanging on the landscape, e.g. trees, shrubs, benches and features. And the haven't. Regulations are necessary to ensure that cemeteries are safe, attractive and fitting places. Memorials must be of a good quality, natural materials and must be of an approved type and size, must also be fixed by a registered stonemason. We require cooperation in keeping the grassed area of graves free of pots, plants and other artefacts, especially breakable items. This is so that the grass can be cut safely without risking injury to the operator from glass or plastic shards and without causing damage to memorials or visitors. We recognise that you may wish to leave tributes, but please ask us first. So we're not any different than any other burial ground, but I think it should be noted in the minutes that the post that was put on Facebook incorrectly stated that we don't allow flowers and that flowers will be removed. That is not the case. That has never been the case.
Okay, thank you.
Fresh flowers, wreaths, etc. In fact, it actually states in the regulations wreaths will be removed in January following Christmas because we recognise that people will want to put memorials there at Christmas.
Thank you. No, public participation is closed, I'm afraid. Say again, sorry?
No,
my mum just said there was still a Christmas wreath when we went in the photographs that I sent Sarah. You can see it's a Christmas wreath, so that is actually true.
Okay, thank you.
And we don't have relatives.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we've got them in Denley.
Thank you. Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
If you keep on interrupting the meeting, I'll ask you to leave.
We're going to make you go on the naughty step in. Please, thank you.
Councillor Andrew.
You have twice been a member of this parish
Yes,
council
unfortunately.
and both times resigned
Yes.
because you
But
could.
nobody asked me why.
Okay, right, excuse me.
Nobody
Sorry.
You know the rules.
Nobody asked why.
Sorry.
It's really appropriate.
Excuse me. I'll.
Close the meeting. Please
Sorry.
close the meeting.
I think you're really rude.
Sorry, if we can stop making comments. The public participation session is closed.
Respect for the people that have come here to voice their opinion. I think we abide by your rules, but please be respectful.
If you wish to stay in this meeting, this public participation has closed. You had your opportunity to speak. It's how all of our meetings are run. It's no different in this meeting.
But your parish councillor
Sorry, sorry.
a member of the audience.
And I have just stopped him from doing
Okay,
that.
Thank you. Perhaps you should apologise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else from members of the council? Just a couple of bits that were brought up. On the note about a working party, effectively, for the burial ground, it has been replied to. I've seen a copy of the reply, so it has been replied to, and it will go on the next agenda because it wasn't in time for this agenda. The ground staff were given a list of stuff to remove from the burial ground, and I'm not saying that they removed stuff they shouldn't have done, but our regulations state that a vase of flowers, real or silk flowers, can be left on the headstone in a metal or marble vase. That is what is allowed in the burial ground. That is what all of you are signed up to when you buried people in the burial ground. One of the pictures that was put on Facebook had a bottle of wine and a can of beer left there. In the latest regulations, silk flowers are actually missing off of the regulations, which I will propose that we put silk flowers back onto there, but it still takes out any plastic flowers and any other ornaments. If you wish to place an ornament on the grave or on a headstone, we will also amend the regulations that if you wish to put something on there with council's agreement, that you apply to the council first before placing it on there, otherwise it will be removed. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Chair, can I also point out to members of the public that the Parish Council does not conduct its business via Facebook. We post information out, but the council business is done through meetings. That's the official way of conducting business. That is the professional way that the Parish Council operates. Again, we're no different than any other council, and notices were posted in the burial ground at the appropriate places on both the gates and also in the notice board, and they were posted a month before the clearance was due to start. Sorry, 6 weeks, I've just been corrected. So it's posted 6 weeks before any clearance was done. And as Councillor Andrioli said earlier, the reason that it hasn't been done for a while is because we outsourced the management of the burial ground. When it wasn't being done to our standard, we brought it back in-house so that it will be done to the correct standard that people are used to in the village of going to a very beautiful, very peaceful burial ground.
Thank you. So if, I've put a proposal forward that we will allow silk flowers to be re-added to the burial ground regulations, and also at the bottom of that section that we, if a memorial is requested to the parish council, we would take it on a case-by-case basis for that to be allowed to stay on the headstone. Does anyone wish to second that proposal?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor West, thank you. Can I have a show of hands for those proposals and recommendations? That's unanimous, thank you very much. Okay.
Chair, if I may, I apologise to the committee for losing my temper with a former parish councillor who should have known better than to talk over...
Councillor Andrioli, you're... Okay, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now carry on with the rest of our meeting. You are quite welcome to stay, but you do not have to. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6 of the agenda, which is an auto speed watch device. I won't do my usual. Auto speed watch device has been installed and is up and running, and I won't mention where it is like I did last time. Item 7 on the agenda, dog bins at Bridge Green. To discuss and determine action, the placing of paving in front of the dog bin at Bridge Green. I think that was brought up by Councillor West.
Yeah, I often walk that route and use that bin, and in the winter it's quite muddy, so you have to sort of trek across it. Apart from getting mud really shoes, and people probably would then bring it back onto the footpath, but then the footpath straight on down, so we just something down there to reduce the mud.
Okay, Councillor Langford-Smith.
We've had this at another dog bin that's at the bottom of Ashling, the Greenway to Ashling Park Road, where the other bins are, recycling bins, and we agreed to put 2 paving slabs. I think we could, as a committee, agree that if we have a request for paving slabs in front of a bin, that we just agree that the ground staff can do that.
If that's a proposal.
Yeah.
Councillor West is seconding. A show of hands for that. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 8 is dog bins at Goodman's Field. We've received 2 requests from Ida Verdi requesting one to a key to the height barrier and also exchanging the 2 bins for a 240 litre bin, I presume that is, in the car park. I don't really have a problem with, I mean, they're the people that are coming and emptying the bin. So the height restriction is obviously a problem because I don't know if he comes around and obviously a higher topped vehicle, which you can't go under the height barrier, and to expect someone to carry what is in those bins out to the road is not the nicest thing to do in the world. So we have, firstly, is asking for a key to the height barrier. Councillor West. Okay. I know usually we don't allow, it's normally hirers or people using our facilities to have keys to them. However, this is a slightly different in the fact it's a contractor that is doing work on behalf of us. So on that one, I would second allowing them to have a key to the gate, as long as they take the risk that if the gate is potentially left open, that they are liable for anyone going in. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Do we have budget to replace the 2 240 litre bins?
I don't think the bins cost it. It's just the lift of the bins, usually.
No, they're actually proper bins. They are
We have 2
street bins.
We have
2
2
street bins.
Gladstone, I think they are, aren't they, of bins. dual purpose.
Bin budget. We did, didn't, because you bought as many as you could with the budget that was left, but that was last year.
Right.
So
We should have them.
if
So, the other thing is the exchange for a 240 size bin. I presume is a wheelie bin.
Yeah.
So that they can actually back in with a dust cart and actually tip it in. Councillor Langford-Smith.
So wheelie bins will be cheaper than our Gladstone bins. That would also free up 2 Gladstone bins that we could use elsewhere around the village if we've got budget to purchase plastic bins.
I'm not sure on the condition of those bins because one of them has definitely been in there for quite a while. So whether it would take being taken up and reused, well, we can look at that. The only downside, if it's a wheelie bin, the downside to that, as I can see, is either the lid is going to be left constantly open or it needs an aperture that you can drop bags through or rubbish through. So if it is just a normal wheelie bin, I don't see how that's going to work there. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Can we ask the clerk to look into different types of bins and see whether or not we've got budget?
Well, my thought would have actually been that Ida Verdi would probably have supplied the bin. If they want a wheelie bin put in there, they would normally supply their own bin.
Yeah.
That was my thought in that, what they've come to us with, because they've proposed the bin. Councillor Andrew.
Well, I don't particularly have a problem with it as long as the larger bin, whoever provides it, is actually anchored chained in place, so that we don't end up with finding it upside down in Main River.
it's going to be in the car park, so they can't get it into Main River.
But then it might disappear.
I take your point that it needs to be potentially chained, but I'm more with the point of if it's a standard style wheelie bin, there's no access and people are not going to want to lift lid of a wheelie bin to put rubbish in it, shall I say. Councillor West.
Let's get our rep onto it.
Can I ask that we have no issue with them having the key to the high barrier? Can we vote on that first?
Yeah.
Right, okay, thanks. That gets that one sorted. On the other side of it, can we go, if everyone's minded, we go back to Ida Verdi and ask them, one, who's supplying the bin, and two, what the access to the bin is, as in people putting things in, just to confirm. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Show of hands, please. Thank you, that's unanimous as well. You happy with that, Jack? Yeah. Lovely, thank you. Item 9. To discuss and determine action, an email received regarding electric scooters. This is from a resident. There's noted many electric scooters. How many electric scooters there are around the village now, clearly breaking the law by making a complete nuisance of themselves. We are just missed by one today, walking in the village by a young schoolgirl who is totally oblivious of that, and that we were actually on the pavement. Hope we are not the only ones complaining about this, as there will be more. Just before I open it to Councillor Langford-Smith, all of the scooters, apart from the hired ones, are actually illegal. You're not allowed to use them on the public highway. It is something that last Safer Neighbourhoods panel, the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner said that, although not here, but Portsmouth were looking at doing a seizure and crushing policy with them. Hopefully they will widen that out, or they'll change the law. I think one of the proposals for the law to come in is that you have to have insurance, be wearing a helmet, it has lights, and you have to have a licence. But having said that, I'll open to Councillor Langford-Smith.
I was just going to say that prior to the election being called, the Police and Crime Commissioner were working with the police to actually do a crushing exercise, and they were going to put that out massively through social media and in the press. Hopefully that will happen, and parents who are buying these scooters for their children will maybe think twice.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything we as a parish council can do apart from advise people to report it on 101.
Yeah. Councillor Andrew.
Yeah, at a recent Hampshire Association local meeting, I raised the matter with the district police chief, who bemoaned the fact that the bill to bring in the law saying you have to have a licence and a helmet and insurance, etc., had fallen when Parliament was prorogued, and as both sides of Parliament had supported it, she was hopefully it would come back after July the 4th. And she said their policy is if they find them and can stop them, then all the scooters were crushed, and it may concentrate a few mines locally. And 7 houses were almost destroyed in Gosport the other day because one battery from one scooter went up in one house. And lithium and water do not mix. But there's nothing we can do, and as Councillor Langford said, people need to report it.
Yeah, okay. So if everyone's happy, if we ask the clerk to write back to Mrs. Stray, to inform them that to report it to 101 and hopefully watch this space with the law coming through about the use of them. Is everyone happy with that? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, item 10 is Southern Road Car Park to discuss and determine action regarding parking of by members of the public. We have had a few instances where our members of staff have been blocked in, and also Joe was nearly run over last week by someone coming into the car park driving out too fast. And then driving straight up to the gate at the end and not actually parking in a parking space. Sarah has been on to the group that are involved with those people, and since that has been some footage was shown to them, the situation has improved. So I suggest that we, and also our staff are now parking at the Southwark Road end of the car park and reversing into spaces so that they can drive out easily. I suggest that we monitor this and take further action if necessary, but at the moment it seems to have calmed down a bit. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah, thank you. Item 11 is fly tipping. A resident has asked if the parish council would consider investing in some trail/wildlife cameras to help against fly tipping in the local area. We have looked at this before. Unfortunately, the areas that fly tipping tends to happen are areas that the parish council doesn't own, and we can't install cameras on land that we don't own. I would like that we reply back to this member of the public and say that if he gets the landowner's permission to he could either apply for a grant from the parish council to purchase cameras, or whether the landowners would be interested in purchasing the cameras. But unfortunately, it's not something the parish council could do. Any other comments on that one? No. Happy that we do that. Go back to the member of the public. Show of hands. Thank you. Back to item 12. 12.1, applications to note the list of applications since the last committee meeting. 12.2, memorial safety testing. We were looking at having another memorial safety test done, and I asked Joe to look at how. Basically, the people who did it before came back and said, how many did we want testing? So this is where this email comes from, with the numbers that Joe's worked out in the burial grounds that we have there that will require testing. I think they were pricing per headstone to test, weren't they? So that's the numbers we've got. Can you remind me, Joe, of how much it was per?
No, I don't know that yet.
No, okay. Are we happy to go back to them with the numbers and then get costing for them? Yeah. Thank you. You're happy to do that, yeah? Okay, we've done 12.3, so 12.4 is non-payment fee. The permit fee of £200 in respect of the interment of ashes into a same time interment of ashes at the same time into a full burial interment remains outstanding. To discuss and determine action. This was the fee wasn't in our regulations, but the undertaker was informed that we would be looking into it, and we would come back to him with how much it would be and how much the fee was going to be introduced to be. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Chair, I mean, just from the sheer number of emails that we've got here, you can see that it's not a straightforward process. There is administration involved, which is why we set the fee at what we did. The initial email came in on May the 7th at 9:40. Joe replied at 9:47, and at 10:02, South Downs were asking to confirm what paperwork do you require and what charges are involved. So right from the very outset, the funeral directors were aware that there was going to be a charge. So for them to now turn around and say, well, it's not on your list of fees, I think is not agreeable. And it's my opinion that it's not for them, it's not for funeral directors to tell us how much our fees should be. We don't tell them what their charges and fees should be. We have set the fee, we've advised them of that fee, and that fee is still outstanding.
Thank you.
It's the fee to the people, not South Downs.
Yes. Yeah. Councillor Andrew.
In normal circumstances, I don't know what's happened here, but normally, if there's any type of interment, we don't allow it until the fees have been paid. I'm not sure what's happened here.
There wasn't, at the time, because it's such an unusual thing to have a full interment and then with ashes interred into the plot at the same time, doesn't normally happen, which is why there were no fees on our regulations, which is why we advised that we would bring it to the next committee meeting. And
It was on the day as well.
yes, it was on the day that we were informed that the ashes, they wanted to put the ashes into the same grave. They were informed at the time that we would put it on the next agenda and look at to what the fee would be. It came onto the next agenda, the fee was agreed, and then obviously the invoice was sent out. So, and as the clerk to the council has just said, that it's the fee is actually to the member of the public who had the interment and the interment of ashes, not to the undertakers. Councillor West.
So there's no actual physical work, extra work for us apart from the admin? Is this not something that the funeral director could have taken on board and done himself and just supplied the paperwork?
No, it's work that Joe has to do in because there's now someone else in the burial ground.
Yeah.
She has to put them into our register. It's not something that the undertaker can do or anyone else can do.
All that paperwork done is up to us.
That has to be done by us.
It's a legal requirement for us as the burial authority.
Yeah.
Chair, I read the emails from South Downs and he is saying that he doesn't think that if we go to the member of the public, that as we didn't have it on the item, how we will stand with charging them. So my only advice would be that in case you don't, I'm not sure how much South Downs funeral directors have told the member of the public.
I know the councillor Smith.
Yeah.
I see what you say there, and taking Tozer's advice, I'm quite happy to do that. Whether he's passed that information on to the member of the public is not really our issue, because if he hasn't, then it's him refusing to pay and not the actual member of the public. Because if the member of the public doesn't know about it and he's withholding that information, then they clearly don't know. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Well, he does point out that he is responsible for telling the member of the public about the fees, and that is the case. He just disagrees. He says he appreciates that the fee needs to be charged, but he thinks £200 is too much. That's not his decision to make. That's Parish Council's decision to make.
I think as Sarah has just suggested, we take advice from our solicitors and see where we stand with it. Councillor West.
Before we go down that line, I want to go back to then check that they passed on that information. Go back to the funeral director and ask them if they passed on that information. Because if they haven't, then we're going down the legal route. It's not needed.
Yeah, no, I didn't. The legal route is just to ask advice as to the fact of how it's all come along. That we didn't have a set of fees in place, but we advised that we were looking into it and there would be a set of fees. So
he says it goes without saying that the fee was mentioned to the family, as was the length of time taken to provide a resolve on this matter. I will pass your email on to the family, but technically that cannot be charged. I personally find it surprising that a decision could not have been made more promptly. We have council process, that's why the decision couldn't have been made.
It was not the fact that it couldn't have been made more promptly, as Joe has said just now. It was the day before, so we couldn't have got a decision that quickly.
No.
Councillor Andrew,
I don't see the need to talk to the solicitor, to be honest. We have the right to set our charges for the burial ground. This happened to be something that we've not come across before, and we set a fee. And it's not up to the funeral director to decide that the fee we set is more expensive than he would have thought. And considering the cost compared with the cost of an actual full interment, that's actually quite minor. I think we should go back to him and say we expect payment with it in a short time, and it is not up to him to tell us how much to charge.
Okay, thank you. Are you happy? If anyone wishes, if that was a proposal, does anyone wish to second that?
I'll second that. Then we need to go back and check that they've been given that price.
Okay, and we don't want to take free legal advice from our solicitor prior to that on the fact that we didn't have a cost in place, although we did advise that there could be a cost.
I agree with Councillor Joe. Not until they say no, we're not paying it.
That's fine. We've had a seconded proposal, so can I have a show of hands for that, please? Okay, I will abstain from it. Thank you. Okay, 12.5, Rookwood Nature Reserve, scattering site. The planning officer requires further information from an ecologist. Abtec Consultancy Limited have provided a quote to discuss and determine action. Just to let members of the public know, Rookwood Nature Reserve, we are looking into turning it into a scattering, an ashes scattering, natural ashes scattering site, so that people can scatter ashes in there. One of the reasons is being because the burial ground is filling up so quickly that we don't have any more space at the moment, so it's a way of allowing people a different place to put them. There won't be a great deal of change in there, just tidying it rather than taking things out and putting. There's no plans for major works in there because it is a nature reserve. Councillors, Councillor Andrew Early.
I didn't think the standard fee was particularly over the top, and it's taken quite a few months so far, so I don't see any point in going for their higher cost speed thing, so I suggest we go with the £200.
Okay.
I propose we go with the £200.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Show of hands, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. Item 13 is social media. To discuss and determine actions on what we should be added to the council's social media channels. I propose that we put on there our decision tonight about the burial ground, so that it is factually clear what is allowed at the burial ground, and also the additions of if memorials are wanted to, or keepsakes, shall I say, are wanted to be left there, then they need to apply to the parish council prior to doing it. Councillor Andrew.
We agreed earlier that we would look to putting that on our regulations.
Yes.
So until the next meeting, we can't allow them to say that they can do so with permission. We need to amend the regulations.
By what we agreed, I would say we did amend the regulations. Councillor West and then Langford Smith.
Obviously, just a majority of the agreed it would go through. So I think we could put it on, yeah.
Yeah, it's my view that we agreed that the burial ground regulations would be amended, and how they would be amended. So next time it's just a matter of adopting those regulations.
Yeah, and I personally think it would be a good idea to get our side of the regulations out before.
I suspect it's probably already on social media.
It probably is, but it gives a chance to give it factually correct, shall I say.
Absolutely.
Is everyone happy that we had that on there? I don't know if there's anything else from this meeting that we want to add on there. I don't think we want to.
Do you want to see the burial ground post before I send you the word? We'll send you the wording so you can approve the burial ground post.
Social media post.
Social
Yes,
media
sorry,
post.
yes, yeah. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda that warrants going on there as... No? No, okay, so we'll just add that there. It's a bit less viewing than planning. Matters for the next agenda. Does anyone have anything to add for the next agenda? No? Okay. Thank you. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday the 18th of September. Thanks for coming.
It's a long way off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.